Warning, this video contains strong language and offensive content. If you like those things, cool. But if you're a bitch ass nigga and you don't like those things, you might not like this video. But for the ones that do, enjoy this video.
You're this perp back with another video, and I just got done watching episode 7 of Power, the final season 6. But before I get into this review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and follow me on Twitter at perpminded. Also, if you checked out the Joker or are curious about seeing the Joker, check out my non-spoiler review. I'll put a link of that in the description below. But with all that being said, let's get right into it because we have a lot to talk about. Now, I love how this episode starts with Ghost pulling a gun on Tyreek. Like, this kid has just been a pain in my ass, and also just I'm not sold on Tyreek, man. You're not gonna win me over with Tyreek in this whole entire series. He's just too much of a liability, too much of an issue. So Ghost pretty much tries to spook Tyreek and tell him, like, I will blow your brains out. And Tyreek's like, nah, you wouldn't do that. So they go to the penthouse and check out what happened and the damage that Tommy has done. And Tyreek's kind of shocked at this, and Ghost is really trying to just scare him straight and let him know, like, he's really not about this life. And how can you not be Team Ghost, man? He just wants the best for Tyreek, and he just wants him to go to school, get an education, and get the fuck away from this life, and just get away from this place, get away from everything. And even if he had to do it by extreme measures, like, he still cares about his son. And I really can respect that about Ghost. I still don't like Tyreek. Just still don't like him. Speaking of characters I don't like and just wish they would have never incorporated this into the storyline, Lakeisha. More Lakeisha. We get way too much Lakeisha in this fucking episode. I can't stand her. I really can't. I don't care how much lines you give her. The more lines you give her, the worse, the episode suffers. And so she's sitting there talking to Tommy, and Tommy gives her a gun for whatever reason. I don't know why. I would never give Lakeisha a gun. Then we get more Lakeisha as 2-Bit and all of them notice that product is missing. Lakeisha comes in there and automatically blames 2-Bit, and they have a back and forth. 2-Bit ends up putting his hands on Lakeisha and just ends up turning into a bigger situation. Lakeisha's about to go tell Tommy. 2-Bit don't really care. I respect 2-Bit. He a real G, man. I respect 2-Bit. But just, man, we got way too much Lakeisha in this whole entire episode. So then we get a scene with Tate piping down what's-her-face's girl or wife. And he comes in there and threatens to expose them all and just ruin his campaign. And just more random shit I just don't really need. I don't know where they're going with this. There's a lot of storylines in here that I just don't really care for, honestly. But anyways, get back to Lakeisha. She's looking for Tommy, and already she gets a knock at the door. She's jumpy as hell. Already pulls out the gun. Was about to blow Tyreek's head off, and her and Tyreek have this back and forth, and Tyreek's trying to figure things out, and Lakeisha kind of suspects Tyreek to be the one that actually stole the product and whatnot. But then we finally get, your boy Sax really slipping up in this episode. You have Blanca and what's-his-face looking over the Proctor case, and things are not making sense. And then Sax comes out and says, I know where Lisa Marie is and whatnot, and he kicks him out, and but then tells Blanca to find out what you can about him, because I want him out of here. So she has to kind of play the dirty cop now. And while this is going on, we go to Tate's campaign runs or whatever, and Dre's there, and he exposes himself, which already is a red flag for him. So he's exposed. Tate is getting chewed out by Ramona. Be like, how stupid could you be? It tries to muscle in on Ghost and stuff, but that kind of fails, and I'll get to that later. But then we jump over to a scene where Tommy's meeting up with Jason, and we get introduced to this new character that kind of runs the West Coast, or he's a big distro for Jason in the West Coast. And I feel like he's going to be a wild card going forward. I don't know what his place is going to be in this whole entire season. Like, I hate when they introduce new characters, like when this is the last season. It's just really weird to me. But anyways, Tyreek and Dre meet up, and Tyreek's trying to get some work off of Dre, and they just kind of have this back and forth. I feel like they're definitely going to cross paths again, possibly for other reasons, who knows, or they're going to probably end up working together, maybe, who knows. So Lakeisha gets to talk. Like I said, we get way too much Lakeisha in this, but Lakeisha actually tries to talk some sense into Tommy, like, look, Tyreek's not the same. This is Tyreek's doing. He stole the pills, he stole the work from you, and just Tommy's in denial. And I gotta give Lakeisha props this one time. She was actually right. But that's all I'll give her. Other than that, her just storyline, her purpose in the show was just trash. So Ghost is on a mission to pretty much silence this dude from, exposing just everything about Tate and whatnot. And this guy thinks Ghost is going to kill him, but no, he wants to actually help him out and give him a position. And I'll get to that a little bit later down the line in this review, because that pops back up. But then you have Blanca at Lisa Marie's school, and she gets all the information she needs, asking who dropped you off at Benny's. She says Tyreek, and now the cops are gonna come knocking for Tyreek again, so expect Blanca to come into play once again. But she also finds the wiretap, and man, it's not looking good for your boy Sax, man. I'll get back to that very shortly. So there's just this like meeting, whatever, I guess, with this new school that Ghost wants Tyreek to join. And Tyreek tells Ghost when they get back home that he's kind of worried about Tommy coming looking for him, because now he knows he took the drugs, and Ghost said he'll handle it. Meanwhile, we get another scene where just don't really care for this whole this political side of this season. I just don't really care for it. We got Ramona talking to the Thotty McThought gold digger, just trying to silence her, making sure she doesn't talk and mess things up for the campaign run. But like I said, I don't really care about this storyline. But now we get some interesting stuff with Ghost approaching Lakeisha, trying to pay her off. Well, not really pay her off, but just give her a way out. He writes her a check. It tells her to take her in cash and just get away from all of this before things get ugly. And Lakeisha's just kind of stunned, doesn't know really much to do. Meanwhile, Dre gets confronted by Sax, and he tries to gloat that Ghost helped get my kid back. Now you can't touch me. And Sax tries to pull one over on him and say, hey, I got you on house arrest, you're my bitch, pretty much. And I think this will be Sax's downfall, because Dre's gotta do something with Sax. Now if Dre takes out Sax, man, That would be epic. That would be an epic moment in this season, because he's just becoming just too much of a problem, too much of an issue. He's in the way. Meanwhile, Ghost is talking to Jason about letting Dre become his new distro, and Jason's like, yeah, you can kill Tommy whenever. Speaking of Tommy, he confronts 2-Bit, and, they have some words with each other, and instead of putting a bullet in 2-Bit's head, he just says, hey, you're fired. Go find another distro. And that kind of pissed off 2-Bit, but 2-Bit and Spanky come up with an idea that, hey, let's go scare Lakeisha a little bit. They got this boy and whatnot, and they also want to try to get snatch up Dre at the same time, which is like killing two birds with one stone scenario. So I'll get to that very shortly into this review. So speaking of downfalls, I think we're starting to see the downfall of Tate, and just he tries to pull one on. He tries to pull a fast one on Ramona. Ramona's not having it, and also gets slapped. Ghost shows up with the guy that was going to expose Tate and ends up making him project manager, which kind of pisses off Tate. You could just tell it in his face, even though he's trying to smile it off. You could just tell he's mad about that whole play, which was a smart move on Ghost, to make Tate have less power, because Tate thinks he's in control, but, he's not in control, and it's obvious. So we get to the best part of this episode. Tommy and Tariq on this rooftop, and Tommy was pissed, and I gotta give it to the actor that plays Tommy. This was an incredible scene, a lot of emotions. He should have just dropped Tariq when he got the chance, but he pretty much cuts Tariq off, cuts all ties with him, and at this point Tariq's got really nobody. Then we get to the scene where the guy that 2-Bit hired to scare Lakeisha shows up. Lakeisha puts a bullet in him. Meanwhile, Dre gets snatched up by 2-Bit, and all of them is confronted by Tommy, and Tommy's about to blow his brains out, and finds out also that Jason's trying to replace him. But then he gets a call from Lakeisha, and Lakeisha's freaking out, saying you had to come to the shop. He comes to the shop, and she tells him, like, I don't want to be a part of this lifestyle no more. And he pretty much tells her, like, you have no choice. You this is what you chose. You have to ride or die. Speaking of which, Ghost is talking to Jason about the new distro. Tommy barges in and says, yo, how can you try to replace me? And this is where things just get really weird. Jason just wants them to work together again. I'm just like, what the fuck? What are these writers doing at this point? And, that leads into something else I'll get to towards the end of this review. But now, Sax is finally about to be done, because now he has to deal with the consequences of him using an illegal wiretap, and he's pretty much asked out of a job. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does going forward. It looks like Blanca is kind of regretting what she did, because she thinks that Sax is a good cop, I guess, deep down inside. I don't know. Dre is sitting there tied up with 2-Bit, Spanky, and I forget the other dude's name there. But of course, Dre's able to get away, but not without taking somebody with him. And damn, R.I.P. That's all I'll say is R.I.P. You kind of deserved it. But how long are they really going to drag out this Dre storyline? Honestly, like, it's just getting so repetitive at this point, and just they're not really doing anything with his character right now. That's why I say he needs to kill Sax or something. But, Ramona and Ghost are having a conversation, but then Tommy cock blocks him and says, hey, you put a hit out on Lakeisha and you bribed her with money? And he's like, no, I had nothing to do with that. Now you need to get your head straight, and we need to take out Jason. Which, I'm cool with that. That makes up for what I just said about, Jason and that whole bringing them back together and shit. But this was a terrible ending. Like, I don't like this whole, even though it was cool that Tommy bought a house, I know that was kind of just random out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden Tasha wants to let Tyreek move product and stuff, and it's just getting really weird. Like I said, like, there's some cool stuff in this episode, but a lot of dumb shit at the same time. I don't know where they're really going with this. But it's like I said, they have some good stuff in these episodes, but a lot of bad. Way too much Lakeisha. They need to not do that ever again. But what do you guys think in the comments below about this episode? Till next week, I'll check y'all out later. Peace.